So what we want to talk about this morning, and it's the first time I've ever done this talk, so please bear with me, is what counts as evidence, what are the rules of evidence, and if you understood the rules of evidence, maybe you can make the case easier to your friends. Because before you can assess evidence, you have to understand what the rules are that help us to assess the evidence. Does that make sense? So I want to share with you some things that I've learned, stuff I've learned about evidence, that I learned before I started looking at the evidence for Christianity. First thing I learned about evidence is simply this. Well, what is evidence? Everything is evidence. Hear me on that. You might think, well, only certain things would count as, no, actually, everything counts. When I walk into a crime scene, I know that everything counts as evidence. Sometimes I'm looking at, just forensic physical evidence. But there's lots of stuff in the room that's not physical, lots of parts of the case that aren't physical. Those also count. I don't need physical evidence to make a case. I've got a couple of cases that I didn't have a single piece of physical evidence, yet we still convicted our guy. There's times when, where the victim is attacked is important to me, but also where he could have been attacked but wasn't is important to me. Starting to see a pattern here? What was discovered at the crime scene, that could be important. What's not discovered, what's missing from the crime scene is important. Whatever the suspect said, by the way, my daughter hates this part. I will hold against you everything you say in an interview. But I will also hold against you everything you could have said but didn't. So basically, she's like, I can't win. Whatever I say, you're going to hold. If I don't say it, you're going to hold. Yes, that's right. You can't win. That's the way it's designed. So what you fail to say is this is important. And whatever you did, that's going to be important. What you could have done but failed to do is also, do you see the pattern here? It's the is and the is nots. The what is and what is, everything counts as evidence. Brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you that if you think we're going to have to make a case based on certain forms of evidence, and if we don't have those forms of evidence, we can't make a case, you're wrong. Because everything, as a matter of fact, the more you take this approach and realize that everything counts as evidence, the more creative you become. When you start looking at the pronoun use of ancient documents from Egypt to Palestine, and you realize that the pronouns used in the biblical documents are exactly the same pronouns that really were in use in that area in the first century. Well, who would even think of looking at pronouns? Somebody who gets it, somebody who knows that everything is evidence. Make sense?